Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, we have a very special treat as Oklahoma State takes on UCF for the first time in the history as far as this rivalry goes in football this year. Brandon Helwig of at UCF Sports Rivals there for UCF coverage, UCF football. So Brandon, thank you so much for joining and coming on in.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for having me, Casey. This game, Oklahoma State, it's one that I've always been looking forward to when the schedule came out last year. And obviously, this is UCF's first year in the Big 12. And, you guys get to come down to Orlando and you get to experience the space game.
Yeah, what the hell's a citronaut, by the way?
Well, what it is, and I'm sure people are going to Google. Actually, no, it's right behind me. This is a citronaut right here. This is the best way to explain it. This is the citronaut, all right? So what happened is when UCF was in its first years as a university in the late 1960s, this was before there was an athletic program. Yeah, that's him behind me, too. Before there was an athletic program, before they were the Knights, before there was a school nickname, I guess it was, this kind of organic thing where I think it was the student handbook in 1967. Just some student just kind of made a mascot, and he's literally an orange, like the fruit, because that was the big, agricultural. With Central, and this was kind of before Disney. All right, Central Florida was known for orange groves and Cape Canaveral and NASA. That was was before Disney World. So it's basically like a Marvin the Martian kind of looking dude, with an orange body. And so there was and that what you're seeing behind me, that was the exact drawing, and that was kind of a concept mascot. It was never actually an official mascot. And so that's kind of where it came from. And then it kind of gets, social media age, the last 5-10 years, it gets passed around. Everyone's like, man, we love this guy. This is kind of a cool, unique look. Knights is just, generic. It really has nothing to do with like the state of Florida exactly. And so we started doing this in 2017. They called it the Space Game. And UCF, the formation of the University of UCF, which was actually founded as Florida Technological University, FTU. They changed the name to UCF in the late 70s. But the reason the university exists is in large part because of its proximity to NASA and everything else. See, a lot of engineers, go to UCF and end up working for NASA. So they started doing a special helmet, a special uniform, and then it's gotten bigger and better every year. They debut the jerseys early in the season. They're available for purchase. So this game, UCF is going to be wearing all blue. It's going to look like North Carolina on the field. So any Oklahoma State fans turn in like, am I watching is this the right channel? Like, no, it's UCF's going to be wearing all. That's never happened before. They had special jerseys, and the blue has been maybe like an outline or an accent. They've never actually worn blue, period. Like, this is going to be a blue jersey, blue pants. It's going to be wild. So that's kind of a short description of what this Space Game is going to be all about this Saturday.
Are people pumped to bring in Oklahoma State for the first time?
Yeah, I think people are pumped every week now. It's just one of those things where, UCF's been in, years past, they've been in Conference USA, they've been in the American. There's only maybe like one or two games you really get amped up for, honestly. UCF had the rivalry. I'm not going to compare it to Bedlam, but they had the war on I-4 with South Florida. That was a game people get excited about. There's been a little kind of mini rivalry with Cincinnati the last few years, just because, UCF and Cincinnati just kind of went back and forth as the top teams in the American. But, once you get into November, it's, you're playing Temple or you're playing, Tulane or somebody. It's not the same. Like every week, it's an exciting opponent. Like a couple weeks ago, UCF hosted West Virginia. They got a lot of fans in Florida. That was a great atmosphere. I mean, not a great atmosphere when the game was over, but there was a lot of West Virginia fans that made it a lot of fun. And I know everyone's excited. This is going to be probably one of the best running backs that has ever played in UCF at UCF's on-campus stadium, the Bounce House, which has only been around since 2007. So a lot of people are excited to see one of the top teams in the Big 12 and excited to see what, who knows, could be the future Heisman winner, OllieGordon II.
Hot take of the night right there from Brandon Helwig, right? Okay, tell us what we're going to see offensively. I know you got your quarterback back, RJ Plumlee, a couple weeks ago, two-sport star there at UCF. He's settling in nicely. John Rice Plumlee came in a year ago. He was a transfer from Ole Miss. He was a guy, I know you got a baseball background. He was a baseball and football player at Ole Miss. But, he got to Ole Miss, I think in 2019. He played a lot. I think there was an injury to Matt Corral. I think it might have been the last year of Matt Luke as the head coach there.
And then Lane Kiffin comes in, whatever he wants to do offensively does not suit John Rice. His skill set, he's more of a dual threat running quarterback. And, he moved to wide receiver. When he got to UCF last year, he hadn't really been a starting quarterback, at least not one through the entire season. And so last year it was all kind of new to him, and he's just kind of learning how to manage being an athlete and being a runner with also keeping yourself healthy as the quarterback. I mean, I know you want to, sell up for the team and, jump over guys and, lower your shoulder and all this stuff. And he struggled with injuries last season. He had a concussion in one game when he's trying to take out the Cincinnati defender, which he should just get out of bounds, slide. So, and also just, the issues with, being a quarterback, decision-making, where to go with the ball, reading defenses. It was all kind of, even though he's an older player, it was kind of new for him. And so high expectations coming into this season. UCF has a new offensive coordinator, Darren Henshaw. A lot of it was just refining his quarterback skills and being able to push the ball down the field a little bit better than he was able to do last year. Obviously, he's a fantastic quarterback. He's a tremendous running threat. And unfortunately for John Rice, he got hurt in UCF's second game of the season. So they're at Boise State. He was having a fantastic game. People look at that score and UCF, they did win on a walk-off field goal, but it shouldn't have been close. Like there was two times that he had touchdowns. He was going to have touchdowns. He was throwing it right in the chest of these receivers. And, two guys who are usually typically pretty sure-handed, the one of them, bounces off his chest. And, next thing you know, the Boise guy's intercepting it. And then it happened again with another receiver. It was going to be a touchdown. It ends up being an interception through no fault of John Rice Plumlee. So maybe his overall stat line, the score looks a little bit, not as good as it should have been, but he gets hurt. He's leading the offense down the field for what ended up being, I think it was the next to last play. He's trying to, get a fehave more yards to kick the field goal, and he gets hit and he kind of tweaks his knee. Everyone was afraid. I mean, the initial thought was, man, he might have torn his ACL. And if that's the case, I mean, that's devastating. He's out for the year, but everyone was relieved when it was like just a strain. I think it was similar to the Baylor QB kind of went through a similar injury earlier this season. So it was going to take a few weeks, and UCF probably rushed him back. He played in that Kansas game in early October. He wasn't really ready to be out there. I think on the first drive, he thought he felt something pop in his knee, and he got all freaked out. And they took him out, checked it out, and that was just a train wreck of epic proportions in that game. UCF just got completely obliterated by Kansas. He was held out the remainder of that game, but he's been back. He's been pretty much full go. He played really well at Oklahoma. He's played reasonably well. This actually played really well against Cincinnati. Didn't turn the ball over. There were some turnovers. You could argue few of them weren't his fault in that West Virginia game, but he's improved a lot this season. He's the reason UCF's been in these games. I think it's the UCF defense that has honestly let the team down a little bit in terms of rush defense specifically. I mean, you can find bright spots in other parts of that defense, but it's the rush defense that's really struggled big time. I mean, guys from K-State, Kansas are putting up record rushing yards when they face UCF and not even passing the ball like at all. Like every play is a rushing play. So UCF fans, they are excited about this game, but they're a little bit nervous when they see what OllieGordon, they see those 200 plus yard rushing games he's had of late. They're kind of wondering, what's it going to look like when he faces UCF's rush defense.
Good running back. The thing that sticks out about this offense, especially Harvey, and then obviously your quarterback Plumlee, speed. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of team speed.
Yeah, and the thing about RJ Harvey, obviously, OllieGordon's getting a lot of attention right now, but, RJ Harvey's been, having a tremendous last few games for UCF. I think this was his fourth consecutive 100-plus yard rushing performance. He had a career game at Cincinnati. I think he had 164 yards this past Saturday at Cincinnati. Three touchdowns. And he's been playing great, and it's a fun story for UCF. He was an Orlando guy when UCF they have their whole recruiting pitch. He's a hometown hero, so that's what they call the guys from the Orlando area. But he didn't originally go to UCF. He went to Virginia to play quarterback, and you see here these recruiting scores. There's a guy, he's the best athlete on the team. He's playing quarterback in high school, and I want to play quarterback, and I think everyone knew he'd be a running back in college, but Virginia apparently said, yeah, we'll let you play quarterback. And he was there for about 2 days. they moved him to running back. And he's like, well, if I was going to play running back, I just would have gone to UCF. So he transfers to UCF the next year. And actually in 2021, he was poised to be UCF's starting running back. He was having a tremendous preseason camp. And then I'm not sure exactly how it happened. It was some sort of preseason practice. He tears his ACL. So he's out that entire season. And he comes back last year and, he really starts to emerge. And UCF beat Cincinnati late in the year, which one of the better victories they had last season, had a tremendous performance in that one. It has just really stepped it up this year. And, it was really, I think PFF graded him. I think he was one of the best running back performances. He had a 91 grade by PFF this past week. So he's got tremendous speed. He's not the biggest running back, but he's not, he can break tackles. And that'll be the story of this game. It's going to be UCF's got to be able to protect the football. They've got to be able to score points because we know Oklahoma State's going to do the same.
Your two top receivers. Tell us what we're going to see in the past.
Yeah, Javon Baker, Kobe Hudson. They're two former SEC players. Kobe Hudson he began his career at Auburn. He was recruited by Gus Malzahn. Was with Gus Malzahn for a season. He was really, I guess, early in the season was UCF's top guy. And for whatever reason, whether it's the ebbs and flows of the game, which receivers are open or whatnot, whatever the reason is, it's Javon Baker's kind of taken it back and kind of reemerged again as UCF's top guy. Javon has the ability to, you put the ball up there, he's usually going to come down with it. There's been a few instances where he's had some drops this season, but, two excellent receivers, both very experienced. You've got a slot receiver, Xavier Townsend. He's been banged up he hasn't played the last 2 games. I think he's got a sprained ankle or something. They're hoping he'll be back for this game. So hopefully UCF's a little bit fuller strength as far as that goes offensively. But the offense, they've been able to move the ball and score points. They've shot themselves in the foot sometimes with turnovers, but all in all has been pretty good this season in Big 12 play.
Throw the ball to your back quite a bit, R.J. Harvey. That looks like it's a pretty good weapon to you. So, obviously he's a very good running back as well, but sending him out in the backfield on, getting good matchups against linebackers or whoever it may be. So looks like R.J. Harvey's a good pass catcher too.
Yeah, he is. I think he's actually, he might be third on the team. He's either third. He's right up there in terms of catching the ball, getting passes out of the backfield. But they'll definitely utilize that a lot. And, Johnny Richardson is the other running back. He'll definitely he'll probably be utilized a little bit, although they've got a little bit more carries to RJ Harvey's way the last few games. But early on, it was Johnny Richardson actually, you could argue, was having the better of the 2 running backs. That Kansas State game, he had a really long run and everything. And UCF has talent on offense, but like I said, it's the thing that's been the wake up call in these Big 12 games. I think it's that defense and maybe not quite having quite the amount of depth that you need to compete in these games because they're tight. These games are UCF has been aside from. I guess that Kansas game. They've been in every one of these games. They've had leads in the second half. It just whatever happens. There was a collapse against Baylor. I still don't know how UCF lost that game. They were winning 35-10 going into the fourth quarter. It's amazing how everything that could have gone wrong did in that fourth quarter and had to for Baylor to come back. Yeah. There was a talking about RJ Harvey. He was lined up at Wildcat and. I don't know. He's not used to taking snaps, at least not, like a quarterback is. And he takes his eyes off the ball for like 2 seconds or for a split second. And he fumbles the snap. And next thing you know, the Baylor guy's picking it up and he's returning it, 70 yards for a touchdown. And so there was a lot of things that went wrong in that game. But yeah, it's just kind of been a wake up call, I guess, this year. I don't think UCF necessarily. They knew what they were getting into. It's the kind of conference where there's no off weeks. In the AAC, you play Temple or someone, you knew you could play. You didn't have to play your best game, and you were still going to win. And that's not the case in the Big 12. You got to bring your game every single week. And I think. Although the coaching staff knew that, I think they thought they would compete a little bit better than they have in terms of getting some wins on the board. UCF was able to get that first Big 12 win last week at Cincinnati. I guess you could argue whether it does really feel like a Big 12 win or not. They were also 0-5 in the league coming into it, and they're not one of the legacy Big 12 teams. But at least for UCF, it's good to kind of get that monkey off the back. Say you at least got one win, and the bounce house where UCF plays, it had been a tremendous home field atmosphere for UCF for a long time. That's kind of gone by the wayside here these past couple of years, but it should be a great atmosphere. It's I think every game's been sold out this year. 3:30 is a great start time. Hopefully the fans are into it and jacked up, and seeing a top 15 team come in there, and I know UCF fans are kind of hoping to get some of that home field advantage, a mojo back this weekend against OSU.
So tell us about the bounce house. What type of environment is Oklahoma State coming into Saturday?
Yeah, I've heard. First of all, I've heard a lot of great things about Oklahoma State's environment when I've interviewed and I've asked people, other Big 12 programs, and kind of asked them, where are the places to go in the Big 12? Where's the best atmosphere? They always say it's Boone Pickens Stadium at Oklahoma State, but I think UCF if everything's going right, if the fans are into it, I know there's been a little thing this season with the students and they leave early. I think every school's kind of going through that, but there's been some tremendous atmospheres. It's a smaller stadium. It's about 45,000. It opened in 2007, and it's called the Bounce House because it's constructed of aluminum. And there's a thing where every stadium, Zombie Nation. It's that kind of techno beat. They probably played at every stadium everywhere at some point in time. But I'm not exactly sure how it started. I guess it was the first game. They start playing it, and everyone just starts to jump up and down, just kind of in rhythm of Zombie Nation. And then when everyone jumps up and down at the same time, it's like a trampoline effect. So there was actually some bend and flex, and it's kind of like, it's kind of, frankly, it's kind of scary if you're in the stands and you feel, what's underneath you kind of moving a little bit. That's a bit unnerving.
I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. I know that.
They actually had to. Actually, after the first season, that was something that the engineers and the planning, they didn't account for that. All right. They didn't think that 45,000 people were going to be jumping up and down at the same time, putting those kind of pressures on the stadium. So they actually had to come in after the first season and kind of, put some extra.
Good thing it made it through that first season.
Yeah, some extra support beams and some things that kind of reinforce it. I'm not sure exactly what they did, but I know they did some things that kind of reinforce it. It doesn't maybe sway or bend as much as it did that first season. So that's kind of where the Bounce House name comes from. But it should be a great atmosphere. I would say it was the best atmosphere in the AAC. I think Desmond Ridder, the quarterback at Cincinnati, he was asked, late in his Cincinnati career, about the atmosphere. I forgot where they played. They played somewhere. They played some non-conference game somewhere, and it's some team in the Big Ten or something. And someone's like, "Oh yeah, what about this atmosphere?" And he just said, "Oh, I don't know. It wasn't as crazy as UCF." So that was kind of an unsolicited compliment from Cincinnati quarterback Desmond Ridder. So we'll see how it ends up stacking up in the Big 12. It just hasn't been the greatest season to kind of get that high energy kind of crowd. Maybe we'll see it this Saturday, but I would think when everything's going right, I think UCF can have a top tier Big 12 atmosphere.
Yep. Okay, so UCF beats Oklahoma State if. I know you asked me this question. We've done crossover. We did a segment for your site, and you're doing the segment for my site. So, okay, UCF beats Oklahoma State if. If
UCF has to. This is, as you said, it's about any team in any game. They have to protect the football. They can't turn the ball over. They got to take advantage of every opportunity. They got to score touchdowns. You want to get points. If you got to kick a field goal, fine, but you got to score more touchdowns than field goals. OllieGordon is going to get his. Yeah, but what you don't want to see him rush for 300 yards and that is a legit fear. They're seeing the kind of numbers he put up on some of these pretty decent Big 12 defenses, and then knowing how much UCF has struggled against the run, they're thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna run for 300 yards. Obviously that can't happen. UCF they have to protect the football. They have to take advantage of every opportunity. UCF they have to get lucky a little bit. They're going to need to take advantage of that turnover battle. UCF definitely did so against Cincinnati. There were two times that Cincinnati looked like they were poised to score. On one of the plays, UCF strips the ball out, recovers the fumble. They got another interception in the end zone another time. So that takes potentially 14 points off the board for Cincinnati. And that was it. That's probably the reason UCF won the game, to be honest, is that they won that turnover battle. So they're going to have to win the turnover battle and just defensively, just do enough to keep OllieGordon from going crazy. I mean, it's probably a foregone conclusion. He's going to get 100 yards. It's hard to see him not getting that. But you have to prevent him from having one of those 250-yard games like he had against West Virginia.
And just controlling the game by himself.
You're going to have to get off the field at some point. They've had trouble doing that in these Big 12 games. And, I don't know. It's for UCF, last week was a must-win game. I guess the goal for UCF, I know they wanted to compete. They wanted to be playing meaningful games once you got to November. But right now, it kind of shifted. You want to at least reach a bowl game. They're going to have to win, 2 out of these last 3 games. So they're going to have to beat Oklahoma State or Texas Tech on the road next week. They're going to have to win one of those 2. And then you go into the home finale with Houston with a chance to be bowl eligible. So you have to win these next 2. This one's at home. I know it's obviously a lot tougher opponent probably than Texas Tech, but the Bounce House has been a great atmosphere for UCF these last 10 years or so in the AAC era, and just kind of hope some of that magic returns this week. And they've always said Gus Malzahn can kind of pull one game out of his hat that maybe on if you look on paper maybe he shouldn't win, but he does. And we really haven't seen that really with Gus Malzahn at UCF yet. So maybe this week is that game that UCF wins that maybe they shouldn't.
Hey, Brandon, this has been a super fun deal to get to meet you and all the people from UCF. So, hey, I appreciate you reaching out. This has been awesome. Hopefully this isn't the last time we do this or just for football. Maybe we can do it for basketball and other sports as well. So, hey, thank you so much for joining, man.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun. I've looked at your YouTube channel and watched your videos. You guys do a fantastic job. And this has been a lot of fun for UCF this season. They've enjoyed being in a conference that actually has fan bases. That was the thing in the AAC. There's a few schools that just don't really have fan. You're playing Tulsa. I mean, some of those things don't really have fan bases. So it's been a lot of fun getting to know all these different schools.
Hey, thank you so much. We'll see you, brother.
Thank you, Casey. Take care.